Welcome to my off-grid adventures. I'm Frank and I'm glad you're here with me today for the very first time that I'm using my DEWALT grease gun. It's a 20-volt grease gun, and this is actually the first time that I've ever greased my tractor. I bought the tractor a few months ago and it only had 20 hours of use on it, but it is time for this to get some grease. I probably should have greased the tractor a couple of weeks ago or maybe a month ago, but honestly I found this very intimidating. The type of grease that you should use. There are so many different options. The type of grease gun that you should use and how exactly you should use it. I just found this more intimidating than I needed it to be, so I watched a bunch of YouTube videos and compiled everything together into what I hope is helpful to you if you're also intimidated about this very important step of greasing your tractor and your implements. A number of YouTube videos mentioned that you should upgrade to the LockNLube system for this, so I did that. It happened to be nice and convenient that it shares the same brand colors as DEWALT. I do appreciate that. I heard from a few people that the cap was quite fragile, and the very first time I tried to take it off, it broke, so I agree that is not a super high quality cap for this. Another common issue that I heard a few people having is how difficult it can be to take the DEWALT Quick Connect off, and it was quite difficult, but I was able to get it off. I wasn't sure which of the LockNLube Quick Connects to use that were in this pack, but what I ended up doing was taking the Quick Connect off of the hose and then putting that directly onto the DEWALT hose, and that is what I would recommend. The strap that came with this grease gun is a necessity because it is heavy. I think when you have grease in it, it's probably about 9 pounds, and that is something you don't want to carry. I even found out that it was quite important to position that shoulder pad that's on the strap right at the right spot, or else it's going to dig into your shoulder and neck. It's always a good idea to wear gloves for a project like this, so I'll put those on now. I hope I'm using the right type of grease. There are just so many options out there that I just went with this. It's John Deere multi-purpose SD Polyurea grease. This grease gun is hefty. You can tell it's well built. It also has an LED on the front that if you don't want it on, you just switch that off. In one YouTube video, the person unscrewed the very end of this canister, and that isn't how you're supposed to do it at all. You unscrew the whole thing, and it does have a little bit of grease on it, so I'm going to clean that off. Next, you pull back on this and then slide it into the notch that it has at the end. Then you just take the plastic cap off of the grease, and that end is what goes into the canister or the holder. I don't know what that's called. Then you pop the other end's top off like a pop can, making sure to place it somewhere where it won't make a big mess, and then you just screw that whole end in. I saw a couple of techniques for how people get creative with ways that they find the easiest to release the air from inside of the grease canister. But I found that the way that it recommended is actually best, just to loosen up the pressure release valve and then to just apply pressure. I had to figure out exactly which way to turn this. I don't know why it's different, but I had to get it to where you could feel that it's pushing it forward. And once I could tell that it had moved that grease to the front of the gun, I then stopped and found the other angle to where you can just push it all the way in. And that was a big question that I had when I was watching videos of this, is do you leave that extended out or do you push it in? You do push it in. It doesn't need to be out. I don't even know if it should be out. But that just wasn't clear in the other videos I watched. So I can tell you for certain that you find the pressure to push it forward and then you turn it to where there's no pressure, push it all the way in, and you're good. The battery came with a decent charge, so I'm just going to leave that one on. The next step here is just to get all of the packing grease out of the system. So I'm going to put a few things down to keep grease from getting all over the place. Got some paper towels and then the cap that I removed from the grease itself. And we'll just pump that clear or light colored grease out until we see the green John Deere grease come through. Okay, now let's grease those Zerk fittings on my John Deere 3033R. This is a 2023 model, not sure if that matters to any of you or not, but there are 9 Zerk fittings on the loader, and there are 2 on the grapple that I'm using. So for this particular first greasing attempt, I'm just going to stick with the loader and the grapple, and I'll figure out the other components that I need to grease later on. I'm not going to speed up any of this because I do think it's important to see just how long it takes at each step and how many times it cycles through to pump it, and just to know what that sound is that it's making. These are the kind of things that I wanted to see when I was researching this, so I'm going to leave it at normal speed. And I just would like to ask for some help. If you could leave comments regarding how to more easily remove it after you're done. Sometimes it got a little stuck and I wasn't sure exactly what to do to free it up. Again, this is my first time ever greasing anything, not just a tractor, so I do have a lot to learn. If you see that I'm doing something wrong, please let me know. But one of the things that I learned along the way is that some of the fittings are greasing 2 sides of the loader, the inside of the side that you're putting the grease into, and then it goes all the way through and greases the other side as well. I didn't know that until I looked in and saw grease coming out of both of those areas. I've only greased 8 of these Zerk fittings, but I'm already feeling just how heavy this grease gun is. So at this point I'm getting it all situated to where that padding that's on the strap rests on the place where I'm having the most pressure on my neck. The last Zerk fitting, the one on the bottom left, is caked with dirt, and that's because it's at the very bottom where I was doing a lot of raking with my rake grapple, so it did get quite a bit of dirt in there. So I took a tip from some of the videos that I watched where you take one of these paper towels and then you use a screwdriver to help force it in to get that dirt and grease out of the way. I'm just going to count these real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I'm assuming that'll be the same number of Zerk fittings on the other side. And it's true. There are 9 on that side as well. As you can see, I do have trouble getting this to detach, so if you know a trick or if I'm doing something wrong, please leave a note in the comments. I would appreciate it. I am really grateful to have this strap, even though it does need to be adjusted every now and then to make sure that it's in the right position. I'm very glad to have it, so this is a must-have and not a luxury item. Don't just toss that when you open your product for the first time. You're going to want it. For whatever reason, on the right side of the loader, those last 2 Zerk fittings both needed to be cleaned out substantially. On the left side, only one needed it, but on this side, there was quite a bit more dirt. I was a little bit surprised that there are only 2 Zerk fittings on this grapple. With all the work that I put this through, for some reason I thought there'd be more things to grease, but it is just these 2. I have bought a few things that I regret buying. I actually have a few videos about things that I regret purchasing for my RV and for my off-grid property, but I don't regret purchasing this grease gun. This is something that I want to if not enjoy doing it, I want to at least not be bothered by having to do it. This is something I know I need to do often, and I don't want any hesitation to keep me from keeping my tractor in as good a condition as possible. So I am glad that I bought this DEWALT 20V grease gun. No regrets at all. And I hope if you're considering getting something like this, or if you've been hesitating to grease some of your equipment, I hope this video has been helpful to you. If it has, would you please give it a thumbs up? That really does help my channel. And if you'd like to see more content about tractors, off-grid living, homesteads, or RV lifestyle, please subscribe. We'd love to have you join us. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.